You might be thinking that mason jars as a vase is so 2008, but I disagree. Mason jars are a really great vessel option for a simple natural design. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make a really quick and easy mason jar arrangement. My name's Ellen Frost. I'm the owner of Local Color Flowers. I've been a florist for over 15 years, and I write a weekly newsletter all about flowers. I'm also building a community of flower nerds online. Over the course of my career, I've probably made over 1,000 mason jar arrangements. They are one of my go-to vessels for everyday designs. They can also be elevated to make them feel a little fancier for special occasions or even for weddings. There are lots of different sizes of mason jars. The ones that I use most frequently are pints and quarts. And my favorite to use is a quart size mason jar with a wide mouth. This gives me a lot more flexibility and a lot more, it makes my arrangement feel a little more natural and a little more interesting. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how I use a quart size wide mouth mason jar to make a floral arrangement. For me, there's a couple techniques that I like to use to make my mason jar look really natural. Sometimes I feel like mason jar arrangements feel too stiff and too upright. And part of that is in the design and part of that is in the materials that people choose. So the first key, I think, to making a really natural mason jar arrangement is to start with some foliage. And I really love to use some foliage that can feel a little more whimsical and create a little wider, a little more width in your design. I don't like things that everything is so straight up and down. I really want to put my stems in at an angle to create some width. You can see already that this arrangement, the foliage is going to help create a wider arrangement. So let me just cut up some of this eucalyptus. This is great eucalyptus to use for an arrangement like this because it has lots of side shoots. I can really get a couple of cuts off of this one piece. And if you're interested in learning all about the flowers and foliage that I use in this arrangement and how much each of those things cost, I'll put a cost and materials link in the notes. So I would say maybe 5 to 7 pieces of foliage is what I like to use to at least get the size and shape started. So that's what I'm going to use to start my foliage. The next thing I'm going to put in is line flowers. So I'm going to use my line flowers to, again, help with this natural design feel. I'm going to clean my stems nice and good so there's no foliage inside the stems. And then again, I'm going to be putting these at an angle. If you put everything up and straight up and down, your arrangement is going to start to feel more stiff and more straight up and down. So I'm putting my stems in at an angle. And you don't really have to have the stems touch the bottom of the vase. That's not necessary. You can have them, halfway or 2/3 of the way down inside the vase, as long as you have enough water in there to make sure that they are hydrated. So this line flower that I'm using today is larkspur. I love using larkspur, and I think I'm going to use about 5 pieces of this line flower to help create the shape. With any design, you want to make sure that the height of your arrangement is no more than about 1.5 times the height of the vessel. So this wide mouth quart is a 6-inch tall arrangement. I mean, a 6-inch tall vase. So you can really make your arrangement anywhere in that sort of 12 to maybe 15 or 16-inch height, and it'll still feel really balanced. So now that I have my larkspur in, I actually am going to use a second line flower. So I've got a lot of negative space in here and I want to fill that in a little bit more. So next I'm going to use some snapdragons. I'm just going to use 3 of those and I'm going to keep them nice and clean. So my stems are nice and clean as I put them in. And I'm going around, this is going to be a really balanced natural arrangement. So I'm just going around in a circle and putting those line flowers in. And again, I'm still putting them in at an angle so that they splay out and have a nice natural feel. Next, I'm going to put in some filler flowers. This is Feverfew, and look, this is one stem of Feverfew. This is great because, again, I can get lots of cut off of this one stem. A lot of these side shoots are tall enough to go right inside my mason jar as side shoots. Once I trim off some of those longer side shoots, I can also make this main branch into a couple different stems. And this is really important because as you're making an arrangement, you want to make sure you're thinking about how much is this arrangement going to cost me. And if you're using 9 pieces of filler, that could be upwards of $9 or $10. But if you're using 1 piece of filler and you're cutting it into 9 pieces, that's going to be a much more cost-effective option for you. So I'm just going to fill in with these little pieces of Feverfew. And Feverfew is so cute. It comes in lots of different styles, white, plain white, white with a yellow center, plain yellow. And it also has a really herby fragrance, which I love. And I'm going to be tucking a few of these in on the sides so that no matter where you're looking at it, you can see some of these little pieces. So you can see how much that filled in, and that was just 1 piece of Feverfew. All right, now that my arrangement feels pretty filled in, I'm going to start to put in my focal flowers. And for me today, I'm going to use calla lilies. These are mini callas. They're white and with a green stem. And these are great for an arrangement of this size. You have to kind of be careful with your focal flowers in an arrangement of this size because you can't use something really huge like a really large sunflower or a really large peony. These callas are the perfect size for an arrangement like this. So again, I'm still putting them in at an angle, and I'm going to put a few lower down in the arrangement and a few higher up so that you can really see them. These mini callas have really flexible stems, so when you put them in at an angle, they really are going to be really flexible and be able to help with that wide width. All right, tuck that in. All right, next I'm going to put in a little bit more filler, and this is sort of like a little bits and piece that I might use at the end. This is Chinese forget-me-not. Oops, sorry, I'm mixing it with my nigella. This is Chinese forget-me-not. It has a really bright blue color, and you don't need a lot of these. This is just a little something for some color as filler. And again, remember putting them in at an angle. And I am going to keep these a little bit taller so that you really see them. Their flowers are very tiny, so I don't want them to get lost in the arrangement. So these Chinese forget-me-not come in blue, but they also come in like a lavender and a light pink. They're really fun. My only problem with them sometimes is that they can be prone to wilting, but that just is if the farmer is harvesting them too early. Most of our farmers know when to harvest so that they stay nice and upright and don't have any wilting problems. All right, so lastly, I'm going to put in, these really are bits and pieces. This is nigella, and on one stem you can see there's nigella pod and the nigella flower. I'm going to use both to finish off this arrangement. I love using both of those, and again, I'm getting 2 cuts off of one stem, so that's a cost-effective bloom to use, both as a flower, as like a little bits and piece, and as the seed pod. These flowers are often also, their common name is called love in a mist, and if you look really carefully, they're kind of covered in like a little fine web. That is the mist that is being referred to in Love in the Mist. So I'm going to put a few of these in. They can be tangly, but you can see I can get 3 cuts off of this one, using 1 as a flower and 2 as pods. And I'm just going to sort of dot these throughout my arrangement keeping them a little taller so that you really can see them, and including some of the flowers for a little bit of color and a little bit of texture. So there we have a really quick and easy mason jar arrangement. Like I said, this is one of my go-to vessels for arrangements, especially for everyday arrangements. It's great on the kitchen table or on a coffee table, and it can also be used for special occasions or weddings. So definitely give mason jars a try and enjoy designing in them.